Welcome to the Be a Boss Coaching mini podcast series 9 to Grind. In this podcast series, I will be talking with women of color, BIPOC, and queer entrepreneurs who are both juggling a 9 to 5 and running a business at the same time. In this series, I aim to shine a light on the many different ways that people balance their corporate careers with their entrepreneurial aspirations. Each episode will delve into their challenges, successes, and most importantly, what they do from the time they get up in the morning until they go to bed at night. I know firsthand how tough this balance act can be since I left my job a little too soon and I learned lessons along the way. I hope that with this series, you can get as much insight and strategies that will help you in your personal entrepreneurial journey and corporate career. Thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait for you to hear from these incredible entrepreneurs who have shared their time and their wisdom. I hope you enjoy. It is officially recording. So, hi Daisy.
Hi, Thea.
So I am so happy that you agreed to come onto the podcast and do this series with me. Thank you so much, because I know that being in a full-time position and then also being an entrepreneur and starting your business it's a lot. It's a lot. And just from like prior to recording, you shared a lot with me that I'm like, wow, like we should be recording from the beginning. But anyway, thank you so much, Daisy. But let's get into it. If you could share your name with us and the name of your business, and we'll take it from there.
First, I want to thank you, Bea, for thinking of me for this series. I am a new baby entrepreneur, is what I like to call myself, and my name is Daisy Danda, and I'm the proud owner and founder of Dayz Co.
Yay, thank you. Yeah, I had to get you on because you are someone that I especially thought of you because, like you mentioned before, we were talking prior to the recording that you're very organized, right? And it's throwing you for a whirlwind, this whole journey of entrepreneurship. I'm glad that we get to hold this space and talk about it and know that this is a space where for you to share and feel whatever you feel called to share. And at the end of the day, honestly, like I said before, this is a podcast, so it's not live right now. There's beauty in editing.
Podemos hacer y deshacer. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So before we move forward, so you are the owner of Dayz Co, and we'll get into that. But before we do that, can you tell us about what your current full-time job is?
Yes. So I actually just recently got promoted to manager of user experience and vendor relations at my law firm.
Fancy. Congratulations. I'm going to have to put like applause in there.
Yeah, something, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And I've been at this firm in their downtown Los Angeles office for the last 5 years. And in this role, my new current role, I'll be providing training assistance and more in-depth contact with our vendors to foster and nurture those relationships. We are a firm that is 1,000 attorneys, and we serve our clients in multiple different practice areas. We're a global firm with 16 offices in North America, Europe, and Asia. And we're also a hybrid firm, right? Post-pandemic, they decided that it was best for us to go hybrid. So I work both from home and in office. So it's been a journey. Yes, it has.
Wow.
You talked about organization and how being an entrepreneur has really opened my eyes to the skills that I'm really good at, but also the skills that have had a chokehold that I didn't even know had a chokehold on me until I started a business. And what I mean by that is I've been in this industry for close to 20 years, and I started very young. I was a teenager. I was 18 when I started in the profession, and I have a non-traditional pathway into the legal industry. I started as an intern, and then that turned into part-time. So my summer internship ended, and I went back after I started my first year as a first-gen student. And then I applied to get a part-time position, and they loved the work that I had put out for them. And they decided to hire me. And I stayed with them all throughout my college career and then some. I stayed with them for 14 years. And I learned everything I did from having started as an intern there all the way until I became a legal researcher and now this position as a manager. But one of the skills that I very much fine-tuned in this legal industry is having really great organizational and planning skills, like herding kittens, knowing how to do that, being able to convey information to people that are practicing the law. So many different personalities and that type of thing. Conveying information is key, being able to communicate effectively, and people needing you at all sorts of different time frames in a certain urgency too. And in entrepreneurship, one thing I've learned is that you get to decide the urgency, right? You get to decide which clients you take on, which ones are a good fit, and which ones you may pass on to another colleague of yours, right? That you're like, maybe that'll be a better fit for them. But I think for sure, my organizational skills, I didn't realize how much I depended on a calendar and structure and all these beautiful things that have really been pillars in my profession. Man, when you're starting something new, Bea, and you don't know how to start something and you're trying to get organized, it's been a challenge. It has been a challenge trying to figure out how to plan for a business that you have no idea where to start. And thankfully, I did find a beautiful community of jefas. You're one of them. And there are quite a few out there. Kita, RCF 21 Consulting, and Cafecito con Jefas that have just been such a huge resource, huge guidance, networking ocean of people, of women, right? That I've been able to reach out to and be like, I'm having trouble with this. I'm having a challenge. Have you encountered this? And everybody will tell you that, yes, indeed, this has been a challenge for them too. And you don't get to reinvent the wheel. They throw some nuggets of information, some gems. And that's been really helpful because it feels really overwhelming sometimes. My business has only been around 4 months. But it's been something that I've had in mind for a very long time.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you did it. I remember meeting you before taking on this decision, and I'm very excited just about your decision to do this because you see the different ways that people grow from this decision. In they're giants in their field, and then there's a whole other era of potential you didn't even know was there, right? Whole other like giant space of growth that you didn't even know was there. And I remember feeling so excited for you at at this thought of opening the door to yourself to this like huge other person that you could be. So I'm so happy that you did. And you're growing, and it's so great that you are doing the community part of this journey early and like first, to be honest, because a lot of people go on this journey alone. They start alone and they don't realize how vast of a change it is, that it feels isolating, and some people give up because they don't have the support or don't know where to look for the support. So like you said, like the community with Cafecito con Jefas, with Kita, with Angel, like that space was very valuable. So I'm glad that really helped in this journey of you starting this new business. So
finding those safe places, I think, is so huge. Finding those safe places of where we can reach out to each other, both sin pelos en la lengua and also with a blubbering mess, that we can show up and just be like, you know what? No, they're not going to judge me. They're not going to judge me for the questions that I may ask or the thoughts that I'm having or the doubts, because it's very real. No, I agree 100%. And thank you so much. That is so lovely that you shared that. You did know me before I decided to take this leap of faith. You did. And I know exactly what you're talking about. It was at the Show Up Shefa networking event. And I tell you, this idea has been around in my brain for 10 to 15 years. And that's the amount of time that I've actually been helping and guiding working professionals and students and friends and family, right? And
Mhm.
for that amount of time, I wanted to start a business, but I didn't know what it should be.
It
And
was right under your nose.
it's the whole time I was already doing it, right? And
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
you, if you know me, you know that I have a lot of different passions, and there's a lot of things that I gravitate towards, like event planning and again, organization, right?
Mhm.
Cooking is definitely not one of them. But this,
Yeah,
I'm a master, right? And
yeah.
helping people gain clarity and see their full potential, whether it's in their current employment or if they're ready to move ship and go somewhere else, right? Pivot their
Mhm.
career. I think you're right. It's really amazing to see people's eyes light up when you tell them, you are a HIFA. You know what you're
Mhm.
doing. You are the expert. What do you mean? I want to apply for this position, or I'm thinking about maybe revising this. And it's like, you should. There's no reason why you
Mhm.
shouldn't. So being that guide and that light for others when they're in doubt, it's been a really amazing experience to see that in other people too and document it, because in this journey of entrepreneurship, I've been documenting a lot, which I wasn't
Mhm.
doing before, and being able to tell people, if we could go back to the very first call that you and I had, a pre-consultation, and we watched that over and it's been a month or however long, and now we're getting ready to apply, right? Or you're getting ready to submit your resume, or you're getting ready to show up on your LinkedIn and do all these things. There's a transformation that happens
Mhm.
with these women and these people because it wasn't there before. And it's
Yeah.
almost like rediscovering yourself, your professional self, right? And that
Mhm.
includes so
Yeah.
much. When we think about our professional self, it's not just our 9 to 5, it's not just how we show up there. It's where are we, what spaces are we hanging out in? Where are we getting published? Are we volunteering anywhere? What is the other work that we're doing? Maybe you're on a board, nonprofit, you're doing
Mhm.
all these amazing things. Showing up holistically in that way, when people start really thinking about their professional careers, they discover, like, whoa, I've had experience and skills there that I hadn't even thought about. So that's
Yeah.
amazing to see.
Yeah. So that is a perfect segue into talking specifically about your business, right? And the kind of business that you wanted to start. So you said something that really sparked my little synopsis, which was rediscovering your professional self.
Yeah.
So can you talk about what is the mission of your business and
Yeah.
how you help
Yeah.
tell us
A
like
little bit more?
what
Yeah,
it,
of
yeah.
course. So my mission has always been to empower people to love what it is that they do, right? Like I said, whether it's where they're currently at, or to look for a place where they really want to love being at, right? And also to understand their worth, right?
Mhm.
So it's all great if you love what you do, but not if you're getting underpaid,
Mhm.
right? Or if you're
Yeah.
being taken advantage of, or if you're being told to change your timesheet, right? When
Mhm.
you shouldn't have to. It's bringing that clarity for people and really being a point person that somebody can lean on and say, hey, let me talk. Can I talk to you about this? That nobody else can maybe understand. And I haven't been in every industry, right? I'm in legal and I've been in legal. But one thing that I can resonate with people and that I can bring is I've been coached myself. I've had mentors my entire professional career. And that's been a huge pivotal moment for me. The fact that I wanted to start showing up that way for the people that showed up for me, right? So, for example, or maybe that's not the best way to put it, but for example, all the mentors that I always had, all the way from high school until now, were typically of a certain race, and they were
Mhm.
typically male,
Mhm.
and I didn't identify with them. God bless them.
Mhm.
They were amazing to me. They taught me so much, and they took me under their wing, and they loved me and really cultivated a fire that they saw in me. Now I want to do the same, but for our communities, for our
Mhm.
people, for our women, for our BIPOC communities. You know what I mean? So it's been really incredible to see the journey in others. But then I think back of I think back to 19 and 18-year-old me and how that experience would have been different for me had it been a Latina mentoring me, or Latinas, or Latinx, or Latinos mentoring me. It would be different, right?
Mhm.
Maybe I would have came to my confidence a little sooner. Maybe I would have
Yeah.
came to understanding certain things a little sooner. Being that sounding board for our community is exactly where I want to be. And that's what I hope for people to gain. So whether that's working on alongside them to figure out their life resume, which is what I like to call it, because it is a life
Mhm.
resume when you're putting on paper everything you've done professionally, right? You do rediscover who you are as a working professional. Or navigating LinkedIn, teaching you how
Mhm.
to DIY it yourself.
Mhm.
Because I can go in there.
Yeah.
You can hire me to go in there and push the buttons and update it, make it all optimized for you. But much better for me to empower you with the knowledge to be able to do it yourself, right? Anything from, gosh, interview tips or prep to cover letters, optimizing cover letters for specific job posts, that kind of thing. And then also my network of people, right? I consider myself a network guru. I can
Yeah.
never guarantee somebody getting placed in employment, but making a connection, that I can do. That
Mm.
I'm a guru at. I can definitely
Yeah.
connect you with someone, make an introduction. So that's been really awesome to empower other people to see beyond what it is that they currently know or are aware of in terms of their industry or their profession.
Yeah. That is so powerful, Daisy. I'm so happy that you're doing this because as we continue to walk along this world, and this world is changing so much in terms of work and professionalism, and that alone is so hard to navigate as a Latina or as a person of color, where most of the spaces that we're in, like you said, are not. We don't see a lot of mentors that look like us. And to have you, someone who's been in this field for close to 20 years, is invaluable. So I love that you're doing that service for people, providing mentorship and helping them, like I said, rediscover, you said this, rediscover a new professional self. And that is so powerful because, and there's so many times that people undervalue themselves, and sometimes it comes in little behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it comes in big actions that we don't take, like we don't ask for raises, or we don't go for that promotion, or we think we're not qualified enough for this role, or to ask for more money. And to have somebody like you to tell them and empower them to say, no, actually look at everything that you've done. How can we convey this in your resume, in your LinkedIn, or even the fact that you have a network, that is powerful. And to be able to connect some people to potential opportunities, like
Yeah.
that's something you don't find. But thank you so much for sharing all of that. So you mentioned that you've been doing this. Your career has been a span of about 20 years
Yeah.
in this profession, but your entrepreneurship journey or your business is has been about 4 months.
4 months.
So what inspired you to say, let me finally, after 15 years, to say, start up my business and continue to
Yeah.
work full
Yeah.
time in my career?
I think there was one clear moment, I think, that happened, and it was right after that networking event that we had with Café Suburban Jefas. So it was last year in 2023, and it was somebody who hit me up and said, "Hey, I'd love for you to redo my resume." And I said, "Oh, are you sure that was me?" And they
Yeah.
said, "Yes." I said, "Do you have a copy of it?" And they said, "No." They said, "How long ago did I do this?" And they said, I don't remember, but let me give you the email address that I remember who sent it to me or something like that." And I don't they said the email address, and I haven't had that email address in a really long time. And
Yeah.
that just turned on a light bulb. And I was just like, whoa, this has been at least 10 years since I've redone this person's resume. And they thought of me. And they thought of me. And I had just come off of the networking event, and everybody there in attendance asking, because everybody there was a business owner. And everybody asked me, what was it that I did? And I said, oh, I don't have a personal business. And certain people were commenting, and Lorena, realtor Lorena, she
Yeah.
said, girl, you got to do something because you're fired. You're very good at doing events. And events was something I had thought about for a long time too. And I'm that person that shows up at the wedding or the quinceañera or the baby shower, and everybody's thinking, did you hire a dance coordinator? That's me. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, that's my Amira. I put two and two together. That momentum and that feeling of being in a space full of women that were business owners and opportunity, right? The momentum and the opportunity met. It intersected. And the opportunity that this person was coming back after all these years for me to redo their resume. And I was like, I need to do this. I gained the clarity. And I said, okay, I think this is what I want to do. I think I want to be a professional development coach. And I call myself the professional development amiga because I want you to
Yeah.
think of me as your amiga, sitting with you as you hit submit on that application or when you're in that interview, empowering you and guiding you and being that cheerleader, right? That you're going to do this. And no matter what the outcome is going to be, you did it. You're going to do it and you're going to follow through, right? That was a huge moment in which I decided, okay. And then from then until now, it's been about 6 months from that moment of that sparked moment of I want to start a business. My husband had been waiting for me for years to start a business. And we talked about it for so long. And he was super, super supportive. I think that's the other thing too, Bea, having that support, having that almost blinded support, like the blind leading the blind from someone, but also a community of people. But someone in your home, whether that's your mom or your partner or your child or whoever it is, your best friend that believes in you and is, you got this, you got this. You know what I mean? That just gives you that little push and nudge to be like, you know what, I do got this. And even when you go back and you're like, wait, maybe I don't, they're gonna be like, no, you still do. Let me remind you, you still do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
that's what
awesome.
happened with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I remember. I remember that meeting that we had after the event. You and I met up near your downtown office, and you were talking to people. You were getting to know people, and so that is the moment for me that I remember. Oh, I'm so excited for you, Daisy. You have, it is a journey, but what's great is that you have a community of people you've already tapped into. So that was wonderful to see.
It was. Thank you. I do remember that. We had lunch and it was a beautiful day outside.
Yeah,
And
it
we
was
both
really
were
nice. I had never gone into that part of that building and I
downtown
live so
LA.
close by. Yeah, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, there's a whole like food court here I'd never been in
The
and
whole
I'm like
world.
10 minutes away."
There was
Yeah.
the whole world. That's funny.
Yeah, it was really fun. Okay, so I want to go a little bit into what motivates you to keep doing both things. Do you
That's a
see
good
yourself?
question.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious if you see yourself continuing to do both for a while, or do you see yourself at one point transitioning from this role that you have into full
Like
time, or it? Yeah.
it's such a good question because I feel like I've been doing both for so long already, right?
Yeah.
But here's the big difference. I haven't been promoting myself, marketing
Right.
myself and my services to this level until just recently. And I think, if
Yeah.
anything, that's been the biggest learning curve. That's been the biggest ask of my time, right? To make out time to carve, to learn, to execute, to plan. I'm not going to lie. It's been a lot of really sleepless nights cultivating this baby of a business. It's been really interesting to see. Do I foresee myself transitioning into this role full time? At the moment, no. And I say that with so much love because I've been able to manage both for so long, but I really love what I do.
Mhm.
I love being able to disseminate information and convey it to um, a community of people, which are attorneys and legal professionals and that type of thing. I love that. There's something about information and teaching others how to do something for the first time. And I think that goes so hand in hand with my business model
Mhm.
because I'm teaching people and showing people how to navigate through something, whether it's
Mhm.
doubt, whether it's applying for a new position, or maybe proposing a title change or a salary adjustment, that type of thing. I'm still teaching someone how to do that for the first time. So they intersect so beautifully. I think both my profession and this business. I really do love what I do and the community of people. I also have an amazing team that I prayed for a very long time. And man, Diosito, he delivers. He
Mhm.
delivers. And it's been really interesting to now be in a different space in my legal career with a different kind of support system. I don't think so. At least not within the next 5 to 10 years. I don't think so. Unless I become the next, I don't know, Oprah or the next Daisy at that platform where I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
hire people, and I don't think so. I do
Mm.
have some really long-term goals with my business. I want to reach the masses. You know, I want to reach the masses to be able to empower more people on a bigger scale. That'll be what I work toward and hopefully be able to maintain both. And what that'll mean is me figuring out this balance between my personal life, my work life, and my entrepreneur life. And
Mhm.
I'll share with you that it's taken me about 20 years to figure out how to have balance with my profession and my personal life. I was a very young mom, and I had to figure that out very early on. So I feel like right when I figured it out, I decided to open up a business. And that threw a wild card right in the
Yeah.
middle of everything. And now I'm having to relearn all of that and figure out how to pace myself and carve out time for my business. Right before coming on, I literally just unplugged my work computer and plugged in my business computer to be able to
Mhm.
jump on and record this and have this time with you. So it's figuring out that time, how accessible to
Mhm.
make myself to both my clients, but also accessible to my family and even myself. How do I show up for
Mhm.
me and make sure I'm getting the rest and sleep and guidance, even, right? Guidance and learning that I need in order to grow in my business. So
Yeah.
it's going back to the drawing board and figuring out what that looks like.
Mhm.
And I think that's been the most challenging part.
Mm.
Again, we're
Yeah.
coming full circle to the beginning of this conversation of that chokehold of structure and
Yeah.
planning and cómo
Mhm.
lo haces? ¿Cómo lo haces when you're doing it for the first time? You don't. You
Yeah.
can't. You're trying to figure it out. But it's a beautiful journey nonetheless. I've met some really incredible people that
Yeah.
I feel are part of a sisterhood that I am a part of now. Once you know it, it's once you see something, you can't unsee it. And
Mhm.
for me, it's been once I have felt it, I can't unfeel it. And I have felt so loved and so embraced by this community. It's been really nice. I love it.
I love it too, Daisy. I'm so happy that you decided to go on this journey with us, with this entrepreneurship journey. It's a hell of a ride, and I'm glad that we're riding that coaster together.
Yeah.
And this brings me, and thank you for sharing that. I think it goes to show that no matter how organized you may feel, like you talked about, you as an individual and as a planner, you are very organized, right? You love to plan, and like you mentioned that you had even thought about event planning as a business, and that was in the works, but eventually came to professional development. And this is why I wanted to have this conversation, is because when then you begin to go on this journey and you're working full time and you've made this decision to start a business, it like I said, throws you for a whirlwind, because as organizational as you may be, you realize that there's a whole other structure that you have to figure out, and it's very,
Yeah.
unless you have mentors or a community or other people who've been through going through that same or similar experience, it's hard to figure out what that looks like day to day from scratch, especially if you don't have other people who have gone through this or you're not talking to other people.
Right.
So that brings me to the question of the hour. Could you walk me through what a day in your life looks like, from the morning when you wake up to dawn when you go to bed? What does it
Dawn.
look like for you to run your business, work full time, have a life? Like, what does a day look like for you?
Well, I'm going to actually start it backwards. I'm going to start with my night. So the night before the morning.
Oh, okay.
Now,
Interesting.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. Thank
And
you.
I say that because that changed for me. Before it was phone is off, whatever, set my alarm, go to sleep. Now I have to make sure that I don't have an upcoming meeting, right? The next morning that might be for my business before I even start my 8 to 5 job, right?
Okay.
Because I've made some of my availability has been like 7 a.m. I've been more intentional about like checking, making sure that like I'm not going to miss a potential client call or anything like that.
Yeah.
So my mornings sometimes start earlier now.
Yeah.
And I am not a morning person. Although people believe that I am because I'm just so talkative. But it takes me a moment to get up. But once I'm up, I'm full gear. There's no in between. Once I'm up, it's Daisy is full battery. Energizer Bunny. That's the night before. And then I do implement this whole, and this has been recent because of how stressful things have been in launching my business and growing. I did grow very quickly in the first couple of months. I figured out how to not have my phone ring from a certain hour to a certain hour. So no notifications, no ringtones. Obviously, like emergency contacts will ring, right? Like my husband and my daughter. But that really helped because I felt like I was constantly checking my phone before bedtime, right? And then that was trickling into me staying online a little longer or ending up having conversations well past my bedtime. So implemented that in March, actually. So it hasn't been that long. And then when I wake up, hopefully I've had at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep. That's not a lot of sleep if you talk to someone that prioritizes sleep. But man, if I can get 6 to 7 hours, that is gold for me. If I can do more, that's even better. So wake up, typically like 45 minutes before my start time, go and grab a cup of tea. By the time I get on, technology sometimes is not my best friend. I keep wanting her to be my BFF, but sometimes she isn't. So I log on, I check in with my team, and then we figure out what the day is going to look like. I was a research librarian. You never know what's coming your way, right? You can have vendors talk to you, you can have attorneys, paralegals, all sorts of different departments that I collaborate with, marketing, business development. The requests can come from anywhere. And we're a very collaborative team. So typically there's already messages that are happening, conversations that are going on from other team members that are back east. And then my day gets started and I do my 7.5 hours, right? I take my lunch. Sometimes in that lunch hour, I'll go in and I'll do some Dayz Co stuff, whether that's updating my ZCal, making sure that my availability for the next 3 or 4 weeks is up to date, or responding to an email. So sometimes I fill that in there, or doctor's appointments or things like that, because life still lives, even if you have a job or not, or if you have a business. Right. And then I would say my end date, my work day ends around 5:30, I would say. And I've had to be more clear about that end time, right? Because I now have a business. So I literally sometimes will unplug and replug into the other. And sometimes that means I have pre-consultations at the end of my day that can run as late as 7 p.m. On those days, I try not to schedule any administrative tasks because that's That'll be a day, alone, a full work day on the Dayz Co side. But if not, if I don't have a pre-consultation, sometimes I'll plug in to work on whatever posts I want to come up in Instagram, any kind of marketing. I don't want to call it propaganda, but what would you call it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Strategy.
Assets.
Exactly. Like, what do I want to
Yeah.
put out there? And then getting very familiar with Canva, getting very familiar with all of my tools that I'm utilizing, right? Zoom, Canva, Loom is another one that I recently started using. All these Fathom recording tool for you. Anybody who doesn't know, it transcribes your meetings. It's a little ghost that sits there in all your calls, and it can transcribe for you for free. And so those are my top two, right? Meeting with clients either before or after work, and then working on any kind of PR work for my business. But then the third is learning. Some of that time also has to be spent learning, whether that's, figuring out what the up and coming changes are on platforms like LinkedIn, or what are figuring out maybe what are the new up and coming tips on optimizing your resume, or investing back in myself, right? Do I need to maybe be coached and potentially sit in on a workshop that might teach me something, right? That also is time that I have to assess and make sure that I carve out for. And most recently, also networking, right? Making sure that I'm reaching out, and people who are reaching out to me, I'm in contact with, and then making those relationships stronger, and then see how I best fit in, right? Whether I can promote something for somebody, or maybe somebody is looking for a speaker and they'd like to reach out to me. That's been an awesome experience to recently hit on. And then my weekends are also affected now, right, by being an entrepreneur. I think, Bea, I heard you say in one of your 5-Minute Fridays that you were like, oh, I don't know what day it is, but if it's a holiday for you, that you get to have that because you're a 9-to-5er, but as an entrepreneur, the days run next to each other. Yep.
Yeah.
And Saturday feels like a Tuesday, and Tuesday feels like a Saturday night. That's been interesting because I feel like that has definitely happened. Saturdays and Sundays feel like a Monday because I'm working. But I did very early on realize that the way that I was doing things was not sustainable, because I was go 30, 40 hours or plus of my regular job, and then going to bed at 5 a.m. to try to put something out as perfectly as possible or whatnot. And yeah, that can quickly lead to a very dark place, because you do feel alone and you feel like you're doing it by yourself. And here I have amazing jefas that are supporting me, and I'm like, why do I feel this way? And then I reach out and they're like, well, you might want to change something. Don't do that forever. That's not gonna there's no point in running yourself into the ground if there's not going to be any daisy left at the end of the day. So that was something powerful that was shared with me. And I was like, you know what, you're right. And it's been an interesting journey. So now I've had to step back, reassess, take a breath, and pause before I can move forward. I had a group coaching, my very first group coaching academy that was super successful. It was a beta, and I feel like it concluded, but I haven't been able to close it out for myself in terms of what I want to like show and let everybody know, like, what were the amazing wins that people were able to do in this academy. Slowly but surely, I'll get that information out there, and the people that are interested to see it have been waiting for it and will be so excited to see it when I'm ready to put it out there. It's taking the pressure off myself too, to say, yo soy la jefa, and I get to decide. I get to decide when this stuff gets to be announced or published or gets to be put out there.
Yeah.
That's been interesting to hold that power and say, oh, I guess I could hold off on that. Or maybe I need to reschedule that. Or is it okay for me to maybe not do that right now? It's a very interesting journey that I don't think I've ever been on, right? Because when
Yeah.
you're employed, other people are making some of those decisions for you, right?
That
Deadlines,
part. That
commitment,
part.
right? Deadline commitment.
Yes.
And it's okay. I get to show up and I get to be here and I do my work diligently and effectively and in a timely manner. Pero cuando tú eres tu own boss and you have to decide what those parameters are, man, yeah, that's when the real work begins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. I love this. Like, I almost see it as like this battle, Daisy, where it's, oh, I need to put this out there. Or, for example, the
Mm-hmm.
wins with the recent academy. I need to show the wins. I need to promote. I need to put something out. And then the other side of you saying, pero yo soy my own jefa. Like, I can decide to celebrate for a bit and then slowly but surely do it later. And it's like that tug of war that you're having with your jefa self, but also your jefa self. So
Right.
like,
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like both jefas are like, wait a minute. The jefa that's, oh, we need to put this out. And
Right.
then the jefa that's like,
The CEO jefa and then the employee jefa of wait, I'm working
exactly.
for myself. So it's like
Yeah.
the CEO is, girl, you gotta get it out because we're not gonna make any
Mm-hmm.
money
Mm-hmm.
or we're not gonna get any more clients if you wait too long. But then the employee self is like, hold on a second, like we can take a moment. It's okay.
Yeah.
Let's
And you're still the jefa. You are the jefa. You're making that decision.
yes.
So it's a wild dissonance
It is.
almost.
It is.
It's
It is.
yeah. But I think that's the beauty of sharing what you're experiencing and what you're going through and like finding yourself along this journey because like you said, you know yourself as this organizational, very like organized planner put together when it comes to work. That's you. And now there's this other side of yourself that you're like finding out how to. It's almost as if like you're dating yourself,
We're,
a
we're
new person of yourself, right?
yes.
You're dating a new
Yes.
version of yourself and you're figuring out who is this person? What do they need from me? What is what do I need to give her? What does she need from me now? It's like this two sides of you that are forming and getting to know. So that it's so powerful. And I like that you're saying like you just implemented this no notifications, right? Like you just figured that out because you were like so caught up in checking your phone and making sure you respond.
Yes.
And now you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like I can put
Yeah.
myself off for
Our
this
clients
like
don't know what they don't know. You know what I mean? They don't
yeah.
know if you have a medical thing going on. They don't know if your child is going through something or is sick or whatnot, or maybe you were in a car accident, or maybe you're celebrating an anniversary shortly, or you're getting married, or just like there could be really amazing things happening behind the scenes. There could be some really traumatic things happening behind the scenes in your business too. And clients don't know what they don't know. But
Yeah.
one thing that I think we can do effectively is communicate and be super transparent and say, you know what? I'm not going to be able to show up for you at 100% because something came up. You don't even have to be that descriptive. And I've learned this from my madrina, Kita, which is
Yeah.
like they don't know what they don't know. And you'd be surprised how much grace your clients will give you if you're open and transparent and just share. And let's be honest, be it like I showed up at this podcast and I was not okay 5 minutes into this, before this podcast,
Yeah.
I was not
Yeah.
okay. And you met me right where you needed to meet me. You were like, let's take a moment. There's no pressure here. This is going to be like a conversation. And what was I worried about? I was worried about internet not
The
working
intro.
and the tech again with the tech with me. If you know me and you get to know me, you will know that tech is just, it's a running joke now that tech is just not my best friend. She doesn't know it. She's
Yeah.
going to be my best friend someday.
She will.
Yes, you'll come around. And me wanting to really want to know more about the structure of how it's going to go. And it's this control, right? Of wanting to really be able to know what's happening next. In an entrepreneurship, you don't know everything. You really don't. And it's
Exactly.
okay to not know, but it's really scary, right? Especially if we have trauma, which a lot of us do.
Exactly. Exactly.
So no, yeah, you said it perfectly. I think you're rediscovering yourself because you're building something new that you've never done before. And it, as much as it is beautiful, it is challenging, but there's beauty in that. There's so much beauty in rediscovering who you are, why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, all these different things, which has been really powerful. And even this moment, being like talking to you about it at a bird's eye view of what's happened over the last 6 months for me is even therapeutic. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the amazing people you're going to have on here who are going to talk about whether they've been seasoned entrepreneurs and have been doing it for decades and or who have started multiple businesses or whatnot. Like it's a very different journey for all of us, but yet it's still very much very similar. There's so
Yeah.
many things that we can share with one another. So thank you for creating this space. I love it. I can't wait to hear the rest of the episodes.
I know. This is where that idea came from. It's from that very sentiment of feeling like, wait a minute, why is this all of a sudden feeling like the biggest puzzle that I've never seen, that I've never figured out how to do? And but that's the problem, like when you're doing it alone, like you try to figure it out, and sometimes it's hard to, it's easier when you can hear others, even if your own journey is not looking the same, but when you hear others, the way that they're dealing with it and the way that they're figuring it out and the way that it's not all just like light bulb moments every single day, but you keep going and you continue to connect to your community, like those moments of, like you said, you running yourself to the ground and then you're like, wait a minute, I have a community, let me tap into that. And getting that feedback, you can't do this way, it has to change, and you figuring that out for yourself. Process, you figure it out, listen to other people's stories, and that's what I would say to anyone listening who's like trying to figure out how to live in both the world of
Worlds.
your, in
Yeah.
both worlds of like your full-time job and career, and then also your business, and know that it's growing. And like you have a prime example here with Daisy, whose business is like flourishing, right? Like I love that it's flourishing, and you're taking the time to step back and see and say, okay, what do I need to change? Because even though it's flourishing, like I also need to take care of me and stop and figure out what, how can we continue this while also remembering that I need to still be here at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Yeah.
can't pour
Yeah.
from empty, you know, we can't pour from
Exactly.
empty. You can't. You need to
Yeah.
pour, you need to have something pour into you too, you know? So
Yeah.
taking that time to make sure
Yeah.
you're being poured into too. So, no, yeah, I love it.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I'm just curious, do you have any, what does your nighttime like? So you may have pre-consultations
Mhm.
or do some work for your business around creating assets. So how do you begin, like when you have come to moments where you're like, okay, I need to start winding down? Do you have a routine around that? Or
That's
is that
interesting.
something you're still figuring out?
I'm still figuring out. I'm still figuring out. So if I'm being honest, like before I started my business, I never really had a nighttime routine. The routine that I kept was my college routine, which was going to bed very late at night because I was studying and because I was
Yeah.
a mom very young, very early on. I was also caring for a child. I never really got to have, and I think this is where that whole getting 6 to 7 hours of sleep was like, oh my goodness, that's a ton. But that was a long time ago. And I never outgrew that. And I would ask myself, why am I up? why am I awake? It wasn't insomnia. It was literally me keeping myself awake for nonsense, reading, watching television, scrolling on social media, you name it, right? I was doing it. All these different things. And I never really have had kind of a nighttime routine. But I think after this conversation, I should consider creating one,
Yeah.
Daya, because
Yeah.
I do, like I said, I started that whole implementation of no quiet hours on my phone. I did
Yeah.
put an alarm. I do have an alarm now in which that will go off that tells me, okay, time to consider what it is that you're doing, right? Whether it's Dayz Co, whether it's watching Netflix, or I'm just like shamelessly scrolling through social media. I do have an alarm that alerts me, hey, it's getting close to an hour that you should be probably preparing to go to bed. So that has helped me. And I also just implemented that, I want to say early April. That's new.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but just giving me that signal that, hey, it's getting close to a time that maybe you should consider winding down. But I don't really have one. I can't even sit here and be like, oh, I have a skincare routine, or I do have something that I do, but it's not every day. It's not every
Yeah.
day, and it's not with consistency. Yeah, no, not really. Which is so
Okay.
funny because we talked about organization. So organized professionally, right? Pero en mi
Mm-hmm.
casa, o sea, como cuando me acuerdo, refill my water cup when I'm like, oh no, I haven't refilled it. So it's very
Yeah.
interesting because I don't, my daughter always says, Mom, I think you're borderline ADHD. I'm like, I probably am, kiddo. I probably
Mm-hmm.
have gone undiagnosed for a very long time. And it's very different. I'm very structured in some ways, and in other ways, I'm not. But I think that's what makes me be so flexible in times of stress or in times of demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like meeting a deadline or something like that. I'm able to be a chameleon because when I need to be structured, I am. But then when I need to be lax and I can let go of time or whatever it is, I'm very chill. I can be very, oh, we don't have to
Yeah.
track time right now. It's okay. We're at Disneyland or
Yeah.
I'm at the beach reading a good book. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that
Yeah.
question. That's a good question.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just it prompts you to think about those moments that stimulate you to
Mhm.
pause, right? And I
Mhm.
think, Daisy, for you, I've realized that you, like you mentioned, oh, if I'm at Disneyland, oh wait, we don't have to track time, or if you're like just at the beach, and you do take time to be with your family, you travel, you go out and like you have fun. And I think for you, and let me know if I'm wrong, but the environment where you're at, it prompts you to either be in that organizational mindset or to let go.
It transforms me. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
transformative. And
Yeah.
I'm very intentional. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
intentional
Yeah.
about being in that space. And I think that's something that I've always been, like being very intentional about holding where I am. If I'm in work mode, that is where the organization kicks in. But then if I'm in a more relaxed setting, like a networking event, I can do either. I can be very relaxed, but then also and not consider time or just be very intentional and present, being very present. But then if people are like, oh, would you like to help? Or I decide to step in and be like, oh, maybe they need a helping hand or whatever. I can go and I can tap into that organizational doer, shooter. But it is very much something that I would say is a superpower of sorts
Yeah,
to be
for
able to have,
sure.
yeah, be very intentional and purposeful in that moment of where it is. It's dictated by my environment. I think that's a very wise assessment of me as
Mm,
who I am. But yeah, that's true.
yeah. Maybe it helps, right? Maybe it helps to think through your day and what you may need to begin to place those physical boundaries around work, personal, business. Maybe
Yeah.
it helps. But I want to thank you, Daisy, so much for this time and for sharing your journey with us and your day and what that looks like, and reminding us that it's a process, it's a journey, and that there will be hard times and you figure it out. And what I love, what I took away from this is like when you have moments of challenging moments, is tap into your community. Ask them. Tap in. Have you experienced this? Are you experiencing this? How do you deal with this? Do you feel this way? And I think that's very powerful. So thank you so much for sharing. Can I share with the audience, where can people find you? How they can work with you? How they can get in touch with you?
Yes, of course. You can find me on Instagram at Dayz Co. And Dayz is short for Daisy, and Co is company. You can find me there on Instagram. Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. You can find me under Daisy Deanda there. And let me think, is there any other avenue? Right now, I don't yet have a website, but hopefully by the time this launches, maybe there will be a website up. So yeah, those are the two ways people can reach out to me. DM me on Instagram. Let me know if you'd like to connect, or hit me up on LinkedIn. It's not as scary as people think, so don't be scared of LinkedIn. Leave the social media scaries at the door and come say hello there. I challenge you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Daisy. It has been wonderful to talk with you, to share time with you and space with you. I missed us connecting in this way. Sometimes you make connections and then we get busy, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this series too, because I was like, oh man, I would love to know how Daisy thinks about her day. But you know that you're one of the amigas and close entrepreneurs and colleagues that I've met through this journey. And I just want to thank you for your time, for your friendship, for your generosity. And I'm here for you, girl, always down to support you in whatever way that I can. And thank you for agreeing to do this. I hope you take this time to go eat dinner, to relax, to pause and just melt into the weekend and
Same, Bea.
take some.
You have just been a gift. You've been a gift to me. You've been one of my very early on cheerleaders. And when I thought about this, you were like, you should do it. You should totally do it. Why not?
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved it. And it's been really amazing, like you said, to find this community of people. And I thank you for thinking of me for this series and bringing us all along for the ride. Because if one of us rises, we all rise. Plus,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I love it. And I can't wait to see this be released. So thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Daisy. Thank you so much for tuning in to this special episode of the Be a Boss Coaching podcast, the 9 to Grind series. I hope that you learned so much from today's entrepreneur and that you took away new insights and new ways to navigate both your entrepreneurship journey with your professional career. If you have any questions about today's episode, or you are interested in learning more about our featured entrepreneur, come on over to the show notes and click on the links to connect. These women are powerful and are ready to give you their own tips and advice to help you in your entrepreneurship journey. And of course, you can also reach out to me. I am Bea. I am the founder of BeaBossCoaching, and I help women of color, BIPOC, and queer entrepreneurs find their own confidence in their entrepreneurship journey like a boss. So come on over to BeaBossCoaching.com. Take a look at the website, what we offer, the freebies that we have, and any other podcasts or blogs that you're interested in. You can even schedule a complimentary call. I can't wait to get to know you. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you in the next video.